Hey, my name is Emily Wilson Hussam, and I'm so glad you joined us here at the Mom's Corner at the Fest Online. What a great thing that we can join together online if we cannot join together in person. Today, I want to talk about a facet of motherhood that's been really important for me in the last few years, and that is comparison. We've all heard the phrase many times before, the quote many times before, comparison is the thief of joy, and it's been attributed to many people, but I think the true source is Teddy Roosevelt. And this quote is no exception for motherhood. I think comparison is something that really plays too big of a part in motherhood for so many women. Now, I'm a mom of two boys. My first son was born in November of 2018, and my second son is due in September of this year. And what I've seen over the last few years is how many mothers allow themselves to feel down or to feel less than because they mother differently than other mothers, or because other mothers have strengths that they don't. It is very easy to compare our motherhood to the mothering and motherhood of other women. Why? Because in this day and age, we can see it online 24 hours a day, right? We see it online in the highlight reel, all the best things. We don't see all the worst things. But for my mom 30 years ago, when she was raising me, she wasn't able to look at all these blogs, look at all these Instagrams, see what all these other moms were doing constantly throughout the day, and the way they were mothering in a way that she thought was better than the way that she was mothering. Now, there's a lot of positives that have come out of being able to share ideas, being able to encourage one another, being able to connect with other moms, but there's also a lot of negatives in being able to see the way other mothers mother all day long. And it's very easy to allow that comparison to cause us stress, to cause us to feel inferior, maybe to cause us to feel like a bad mom, to cause us to feel less than. And that's not what the Lord desires for us as mothers. Over the last few years, and what I'm still finding is that what's the Lord's desire for us in motherhood? His desire is that we would find our strengths, that you would find your strengths as a mother. It's a very popular thing to do these days. There's these strengths finders tests, and you do it in a corporate office and things like that to see what are the best attributes that you're bringing to the table. What are your strengths that we need to utilize in this team effort that we're taking on, etc., and so on and so forth. These tests of finding your strengths are really common because it's a great way to use the gifts and talents that you have in a bigger capacity for your boss to do that, or whoever. There might be online, I don't know, but there's no specific one strengths finder test for motherhood. But the reality is that you as a mom bring strengths to your motherhood that God gave you specifically and uniquely to raise your children, to love your children, and to mother your children. And while there's no quiz, right, to find out what your strengths are, the Lord invites us to step back and not to take a quiz, but to ask Him sincerely, Lord, what are the strengths that you have given me as a mother? What are the strengths that I bring to the table for my children, for my family, and for my vocation as a whole in motherhood? And these might be things that you're really passionate about. These might be things that you enjoy investing your time and energy into. But when we step back and realize, and look, these are my strengths, it's important to magnify those and to celebrate those and to really lean into those. Have you ever stopped to take time to reflect on what your strengths in motherhood are? For me, one of my biggest strengths as a mom is music, playing music with my son. I've been a musician my whole entire life, and I love bringing music as a part of his day. I've been singing to him, since he was in the womb. We play a lot of music throughout the day. We study a lot of music, and we have a lot of fun doing that. And that's one of the strengths that I bring. Things that are not my strengths, crafting. There are moms who are into creating sensory bins and making activities and making crafts and things like that. That is so not my wheelhouse, so not my thing, so not something that I'm passionate about doing. And so I look at that, and when I see these moms online who create these great sensory bins and activities, I can either allow it to cause me to feel down about myself as a mom, or I can say, okay, how can I be inspired and encouraged by this mom and her passion for this, but not allow myself to feel down or bad about my motherhood because I see that my strengths are different than hers, that my passions as a mom are different than hers, and that is a good and beautiful thing. And that's what the Lord wants us to do, is to be able to rest in the fact that I'm not going to have every strength in motherhood, right? That there will be weaknesses and failures and all different kinds of things, but that the Lord desires that we would be confident in our motherhood because I say, I have these strengths and this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I love doing with my son, and this is what I, want to invest my time and effort and energy into doing with him and for him. It reminds me of the verse in Romans chapter 12, verses 6 through 8, and says, since we have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us exercise them. If prophecy, in proportion to the faith, if ministry, in ministering, if one is a teacher, in teaching, if one exhorts, in exhortation, if one contributes, in generosity, if one is over others with diligence, if one does acts of mercy with cheerfulness. And that's the same for us as mothers. We have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, different gifts, different talents, different strengths, and the Lord wants us to step back and say, Lord, help me to see what those are for me in my life. Help me to see the ways that I can glorify you in my motherhood. Because when we walk confidently in our motherhood, I think that positively impacts our children. When we really have the courage to say, I'm a good mom because I bring these strengths to the table. I'm a good mom because above all, I am trying my very best to love my children. I'm a good mom. And that's something the Lord desires to hear us say, to walk in confidence in our motherhood, in the gifts that he's given us, and the confidence that he has in us in our mothering. He wants us to walk in that peace and in that joy that comes along with that. So that's what I wanted to share with you today in this short talk, to encourage you to find out what your strengths are, because when we grow confident in these strengths, we have the ability to celebrate the strengths that other women bring to the table too, that we don't compare and let that steal our joy, but we really truly have the ability to celebrate other women, celebrate the fact that we are all so different in our motherhood, and that is a good and beautiful thing. Thanks so much for watching my talk here at the Fest. Don't forget to check out my new children's book for girls ages 0 to 4, God's Glorious Girl. You will see the link here on the Fest virtual page. Thanks so much for joining me. May God bless you. Bye-bye.